Welcome, listeners, to another deep dive. And today we're going to be taking a look at Neil Gaiman's The Sandman.
Oh, the Sandman.
Yeah, I love The Sandman.
It's a pretty intense
Yeah,
graphic novel series, right? Lots of
it's so rich
yeah, and
with
this time we're going to be focusing on
so much to unpack.
yeah,
Yes.
exactly. So much to unpack, right? And we're going to be focusing on memory and time and how those two things kind of intertwine through this crazy world that Neil Gaiman creates.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it's this fantastical world with all these amazing characters, right?
Right.
But at its core, it's really exploring these really human experiences, right?
Right.
Like the way we deal with time, how the past shapes our present,
Yeah.
and how those experiences ultimately, turn us into who we are.
Oh.
Exactly, exactly. And the paper that we're looking at today, it's called Memory and the Passage of Time in the Sandman. And it jumps right in. It talks about how memories are these forces that kind of shape our identities. It really got me thinking about every single thing that we experience, right? Every interaction we have with other people,
Yeah.
it leaves some sort of mark on us. Do you think that that's true?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's spot on. It's like all those mental and emotional imprints that we get, they kind of accumulate over time.
Right.
And they really do become a core part of who we are, right? Like
Mhm.
our personalities, our fears,
Yeah.
our joys, all that stuff. And they can be, incredibly powerful forces in our lives.
Totally. And, for better or for worse, right? Like some of those.
For better or for worse, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And the Sandman, I think it really brings that concept to life, in a powerful way with the main character, Morpheus. Right. He's the embodiment of dream, and he's this really powerful, kind of brooding figure, but he's haunted.
Brooding.
Yeah, he's haunted by his past. Especially the things that he's done, like punishing his former lover, Nada.
Right.
And then, of course, the loss of his son, Orpheus. And it's not just that he remembers these events, right? He carries them with him. They define who he is.
It's not just remembering, right? It's this
Yeah.
weight that he's carrying,
See
his
the
burden.
focus.
Yeah, for centuries, maybe even millennia
Exactly.
of
Yeah.
choices that he's made and the consequences that came from them.
And, it makes you wonder, to what extent are we defined by our past?
Right.
Right. We all have those regrets, those embarrassing moments, the things we wish we had done differently.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But could you imagine carrying that for
I
centuries?
mean, literally centuries.
Yeah. I mean, I can barely handle last week,
Yeah. It really makes you wonder, if there's a difference between, human regret and then the guilt of, an immortal being. And the paper kind of explores this a little bit deeper through this character, Hobgadling,
Right.
who's unlike Morpheus, right? He's human, but he chooses to live forever.
Oh, wow.
And so he, too, is accumulating, centuries of experiences
Yeah.
and memories.
Wow. So that opens up, a whole other question, which is, does living that long actually make you wiser? Or are you just overwhelmed by all the stuff that you've gone through, all the experience and memories? What happens when you literally have centuries to sift through, right?
It really makes you think about our own lives, even with, a normal lifespan.
Yeah.
How do we even process our experiences?
Right,
Which
yeah.
memories do we hold on to? Which ones do we, kind of try to forget?
Right, right.
And what does that say about, who we are?
Yeah. And it's what memories are really shaping your identity, listener? Are those memories a source of strength? Or are they holding you back?
I think we're shaped by the past, but we also have this power to, choose how those experiences define us, right?
Yeah.
This constant back and forth between
Yeah.
who we were and, who we're becoming.
Right. So we've talked about, how powerful memories can be.
Yeah.
But there's also time, right? This relentless force that's always moving forward. And I think it's a constant reminder that things change.
Yeah.
And change can be scary. So how does the Sandman explore this, this tension between the desire for stability and then just the fact that things are going to change?
Well, the Sandman, it tackles that head on with Morpheus, right? He's this eternal being. So at first, he resists change.
Right.
He really clings to tradition, to the way things have always been in his realm, the dream. And it's almost like he's trying to, hold on to this one fixed point in a universe that's constantly shifting around him.
But that can't last forever, can it?
No, it can't. I mean, eventually over time, and, we're talking huge stretches of time, in his case, he's
Yeah.
forced to adapt.
Right.
And it leads to like a massive, like, a huge transformation for him.
Right.
And it ultimately, involves a big self-sacrifice.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't want to spoil anything for the listeners, but it's a pretty powerful arc to see how he kind of goes through that.
It's a powerful arc.
Yeah. But, this whole struggle with change, it's not just limited to Morpheus. We also see it in the mortal characters in the story, don't we?
Oh, absolutely. We see it with Lyda Hall, right?
Yeah.
She's dealing with, this immense grief of losing her husband while also trying to protect her son.
Right.
And then there's Unity Kincaid,
Oh, yeah.
who like lost decades of her life to this, sleeping sickness. And then she wakes up and the world has completely moved on without her. So it's like these stories, they really highlight how time can bring, both loss,
Yeah.
but also new beginnings.
Right. It's like that double-edged sword. I mean, it can be really painful to adapt, but it's also what allows for growth, right?
Exactly. Time isn't just about things ending. It's also about like making space for new possibilities.
Right.
Like it's this constant like cycle of destruction and creation.
Yeah, yeah. And listener, how do you navigate that in your own life? How do you deal with change? How do you adapt to those crazy shifts that life kind of throws at you? And
Sure.
and how do you find, opportunity amidst loss? I mean, I think it's a question that we all face, no matter, how powerful we might be.
Absolutely.
And the Sandman, it kind of takes this whole exploration of time and change a step further with the introduction of the endless, right?
Right.
These beings that are like so powerful, and they embody all these different aspects of existence. We've got, dream, obviously, and then there's death and desire.
Desire, despair.
Despair, yeah. Destiny, delirium, and destruction.
It's whole family,
Yeah, it's a big family.
It's a big, intense,
It's a dysfunctional family.
dysfunctional family, yeah.
But, what's really fascinating is this paradox that the paper points out.
Oh, yeah.
They're eternal, right? So
Yeah.
they exist outside of time, as we understand it.
As we understand it.
But they're still affected by time within, like, their own realms.
Yeah, it's like this, this kind of mind-bending concept
Yeah.
that, even these beings that we can barely comprehend
Right.
are still subject to these forces that are beyond their control.
Right. It makes you wonder about, like, the different ways that time operates, Like, not just around us, but, like, within us.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And it gets even more, like,
This-
complex,
yeah.
when you consider, like, delirium.
Delirium, yeah.
The endless of madness.
Right.
And, she's got these fragmented memories. And it suggests that even timeless beings can be, like, affected by the passage of time.
Yeah.
Particularly when it comes to, like, how we perceive and remember.
And it's not a linear experience for her, right?
No, not at all.
It's almost like she's experiencing like the past, present,
All at once.
and future all at the same time.
Right, right. It's a challenge to even think about what that would be like, right?
It really challenges our understanding of identity,
Right,
right? Like what makes us
right.
if our memories are constantly like shifting
Yeah.
and changing and kind of reforming.
Yeah. And, delirium's fragmented memories, they're not a weakness.
No, not at all.
They're, like, part of her power.
They're part of her power, yeah.
Yeah, it's a reflection of, like, the fluidity of consciousness.
Consciousness.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's a pretty wild concept to try to wrap your head around.
It really is.
Like, what would it be like to experience time in that way?
Yeah.
I think it makes you appreciate the structure that, our, like, linear perception of time kind of gives us, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Even with all the challenges that come with it.
Yeah. And it also highlights, the fact that our minds are constantly like changing and evolving.
Yeah.
Just like delirium.
Right,
We're not static beings. We're shaped by our experiences in the passage of time.
right, right. Speaking of how our experiences shape us, the paper uses this really beautiful phrase to describe memory. It's a bridge connecting the past, the present, and the future. And I think that's so evident in the Sandman. It's not just about these individual memories.
Yeah.
It's about how those memories kind of linger and how they impact other people even, like, after death.
Like Orpheus. Yes.
Orpheus, exactly.
Morpheus' son, his story, like, continues to resonate throughout the entire series.
Right.
And then Nada, her memory kind of haunts Morpheus for centuries after she's gone.
Right.
It's like these memories become like a part of the fabric of existence,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and Morpheus's whole role is to safeguard the dreaming, right? This realm that contains everybody's dreams and memories. So he's not just protecting a place, he's protecting something much bigger than that.
Like, is he protecting something precious? Or is it, like a burden?
Right.
Or maybe it's both.
Yeah, yeah. It really raises this fascinating question, about the nature of memory and its impact on the world as a whole.
Absolutely.
And it makes you think, listener, about how we all carry inherited memories.
Yeah.
Not literally, but, from our families, from our cultures, from history.
In the past, yeah.
Yeah, our past is kind of woven into our present, whether we realize it or not.
It's always there.
So what inherited memories are shaping your worldview? How do those impact how you see things?
It's like, these inherited memories, they create this, like, sense of shared history and, like, collective identity.
Yeah.
It's, fascinating how those stories from the past continue to influence us in, like, the present.
Yeah. And that brings us to the dreaming itself. It's so much more than just the place we go when we sleep, right?
Yeah.
The Sandman presents it as this, like, rich metaphorical space.
Mhm.
It's always changing, reflecting, how time flows, the birth and death of dreams,
Yeah.
and those lingering echoes of memories.
It's like this, like a living tapestry that's woven from all the threads of our, like, collective imagination.
Right.
And Morpheus, as the Lord of Dreams, he's like tasked with safeguarding this realm.
So is he essentially, protecting humanity's collective memory? Is that his, like, ultimate purpose?
It's a really interesting idea.
Yeah, it really is.
If the dreaming holds, like, the essence of our dreams and our fears and our, aspirations,
Yeah.
then maybe Morpheus is like the guardian of what makes us human.
Exactly, exactly. And that kind of circles back to the idea of dreams, as a way for us to process our experiences, right?
Mm.
Even our unconscious minds, they're shaped by time, aren't they? Everything we've done, the people we've lost,
The choices we've made.
the choices we've made, it all, like, filters through our dreams, doesn't it?
It's like our minds are always working, even when we're asleep, right? Like always trying to make sense of the world. And
Yeah.
dreams, they give us this way to, like, confront our fears, relive our joyous moments, or even, like, explore different paths.
So, listener, what do your dreams say about your relationship with time and memory? Do you go back to, like, familiar places, familiar people from your past?
Yeah.
Do you, like, grapple with unresolved emotions?
Mhm.
Or are you exploring these fantastical scenarios?
Because our dreams, they can offer, like a really valuable window into how we perceive, ourselves
Yeah,
and the world.
right.
And they can reveal, our subconscious fears, desires, and
Yeah.
even, our hopes for the future.
I mean, the Sandman just masterfully weaves together memory, time, dreams, and identity.
It's really a story that stays with you.
Yeah, it really does linger, long after you finish it.
Neil Gaiman, he created this world that is both, like, fantastical but also deeply human.
Yeah.
And he makes us think about, the very nature of existence
Yeah.
and the forces that, shape who we are.
So let's recap some of the, the key takeaways here.
Yeah.
We've seen how memory and time are really, inseparably intertwined, right?
Yeah.
They shape how we, experience the world and who we are.
And our experiences, both, personal and inherited, they have a huge impact on our present and future.
Yeah, they really do.
And change, it's inevitable and, it can be challenging,
It can be.
but it also brings, opportunities for growth
Right.
and transformation.
Right, right. And dreams, they offer a really, like, valuable way for us to look at our relationship with time and memory.
Yeah, they help us, process our experiences and kind of explore our minds.
When I think about, the vastness of time and the power of memory, it's just this, like,
It's kind of awe-inspiring, isn't it?
yeah, it's awe-inspiring, it's humbling,
Yeah.
but it's also kind of exhilarating.
Yeah, because it's like we're part of something,
Yeah,
so much bigger than ourselves.
exactly.
You're connected to the past, present, and future in ways that, we may never fully grasp.
And that kind of leads us to this, big question that lingers.
Yeah.
If our minds are constantly being, reshaped by time, by the flow of time, and those
Mhm.
echoes of memories, almost like the dreaming itself.
Then what does that mean for our sense of self? Like, who are we really?
Yeah. Who are we? I mean, it's a question that I think, we'll be exploring throughout the rest of this deep dive.
Good question, yeah.
So stay tuned for part 2, where we'll delve even further into, the mysteries of the Sandman and maybe even unlock some of the secrets within ourselves.
Absolutely.
Until then, keep dreaming.
Keep dreaming.
We'll catch you on the flip side.
See you later. Are we really these, like, fixed,
Are we always becoming something else?
Yeah, like, always in this state of becoming, right? Like, it makes me think of that quote,
Oh, yeah.
no man ever steps in the same river twice.
Right.
Because it's not the same river and he's not the same man.
Right, right. It's like
Ultimately, it's like,
no dreamer ever enters the same dreaming twice.
Yeah,
Because it's not the same dreaming and they're not the same dreamer.
exactly.
It really makes you realize, like we are constantly in this state of evolving and growing and changing, and all of those echoes of our experiences, our memories, they become like part of this grand tapestry of existence. It
Yeah.
really changes, the way you think about life as a journey.
Mm.
It's not just about getting to, the final destination.
It's the journey.
It's how we transform.
Yeah, it's the transformation along the way.
And how those changes, impact the world around us, right?
Absolutely. And while we can't control time,
Right.
we can choose how we, respond to it.
Right.
We can, cling to the past.
Yeah.
Or we can kind of, like, embrace the present and look towards the future with, a sense of, like, wonder and possibility.
Yeah. Speaking of the future, let's go back to the dreaming a little bit.
Go ahead.
We were talking about it as this like metaphorical space.
Yeah, it's a realm that's, like, constantly in this state of change and flux, right?
Right.
Mirroring, like, the fluidity of, time and memory.
One of the things that really struck me in the paper was this idea that, the dreaming isn't just about these individual dreams that we have.
Right.
It's also reflecting like a collective unconscious.
Yeah, like, it acts as this kind of repository
Yeah.
for all of humanity's, like, hopes and fears and
Right.
desires and anxieties.
Yeah. And Morpheus says the guardian of the dreaming.
Yeah.
That takes on a whole new level of like
It's huge.
significance. He's not just protecting individual dreams.
No.
He's safeguarding like the very essence of what makes us human. And if the dreaming represents this like shared space of memories and emotions, then what happens when that space is threatened?
Oh, that's a good question.
Right. Like what happens when it's disrupted? And we see this, play out in a lot of the storylines in the Sandman, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, when the dreaming is, like, destabilized, it's
Right.
like the consequences kind of ripple outward.
Right.
And it affects not just, like, the individual dreamers,
Right.
but, like, the waking world as well. It's like
Yeah.
everything is connected.
It highlights that interconnectedness.
Yeah, and it shows, how fragile
Yeah.
those barriers can be between, these different realms of existence.
Yeah. It makes me think about, how our own like anxieties and, maybe unresolved issues might manifest in our dreams,
It's like our subconscious mind is trying to, like, process these things, to kind of work through them
Yeah.
in a safe space.
So maybe by paying attention to our dreams, we can get a better understanding of ourselves, and the things that might be weighing on us.
There's a long history of, like, dream interpretations in so many different cultures, right?
Right.
And while we might not always find, like, clear-cut answers in our dreams,
Yeah.
they can definitely offer some valuable insights into, like, what's going on in our subconscious.
It's another way that the Sandman, blends the fantastical with the deeply personal,
Yeah.
makes us think about the power
Yeah.
and the significance of our own dream worlds.
Mhm.
And to kind of tie it back to the paper's exploration of, memory and time, you see how dreams give us this like really unique perspective on how those two concepts are so intertwined.
Yeah, they can really blur the lines
Yeah.
between past, present, and future,
It's like we can revisit memories, we can process emotions.
and even get glimpses of, potential futures.
Yeah. It's almost like dreams are this space where the rules of time and memory become more fluid.
More malleable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe that's why they can be, so disorienting sometimes,
Right.
but also, so revealing at the same time.
Earlier, we asked the listeners about their own dreams, but maybe we can ask a little bit differently now.
Okay.
What recurring symbols or themes pop up in your dreams, listener?
Yeah.
Do they give you any clues about, your relationship with your past, your present,
Yeah.
or even your hopes and fears for the future?
I think that kind of introspection can be a really, like, powerful way to connect with, like, the deeper themes in the Sandman.
Absolutely. And it speaks to, the power of stories. Whether it's myths and legends or, comic books, we grapple with these big questions,
Big question.
about life and existence,
Yeah.
and we explore the complexities of being
And the
human.
human experience, yeah.
And the Sandman does this so masterfully.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't shy away from the hard questions about, life and death and identity and the nature of reality.
Yeah.
And it gives us this really unique and thought-provoking lens to examine our own lives.
Absolutely.
So as we start to kind of wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
I'm curious, to hear your thoughts on one final question.
Okay, shoot.
If our memories and experiences are always shaping who we are,
Mm-hmm.
and the dreaming is a reflection of that, fluidity of identity,
Yeah.
then what does it actually mean to be the master of your own dream realm?
Ooh.
Like Morpheus is, right?
Yeah, like, is it about control or is it something, a little more nuanced and complex than that?
Yeah, it's a question that we see play out throughout the whole series, right?
It really is. And Morpheus, like, at first, he really seems to think that it's all about control.
Right.
Like, he's enforcing rules and he's maintaining order and, resisting anything that challenges that.
Right.
Like his authority.
Right. But as the story, unfolds, we see that he really struggles with that idea of,
Yeah, the limitations of control.
limitations of control, yeah. Especially when he's dealing with, something like dreams.
Right, because they're so unpredictable.
They are, yeah.
And that landscape of the dreaming is always, changing and shifting.
Yeah. And it's like he eventually starts to realize, that real mastery doesn't come from like, just total control.
Yeah, it's not about forcing things. It's about
understanding.
Yeah.
And almost like embracing that,
that fluidity.
Fluidity, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a pretty powerful realization, isn't it?
It really is. And it suggests that our identities, just like the dreaming, they're not static.
Right.
We're not these fixed things. We're constantly evolving.
Maybe that's where, real freedom comes from, right?
Wait,
it's being okay with the fact that change is inevitable
Yeah.
and finding those ways to, navigate it.
Gracefully.
Gracefully, yeah.
That's a good way to put it.
And it brings us back to, the paper's main theme about, the relationship between memory and time. They're not these separate forces acting on us.
Right.
They're intertwined.
They're woven together.
Yeah.
And our memories, they shape how we experience time.
Yeah.
And then time, the passing of time, influences which memories we, keep and how those memories then shape us.
Right. It's this beautiful, complicated dance, isn't it?
It really is.
And the Sandman captures it, I think better than almost anything else.
I think so too, yeah.
So as we, bring this deep dive to a close, I wanted to, leave the listener with one final thought.
Okay.
We've talked about how the Sandman explores memory and change and the relationship between dreams and reality. But maybe the biggest takeaway is that, we're not these fixed things.
Yeah, we're not set in stone.
Yeah, we are constantly, evolving.
We're always changing.
We're
shaped by our experiences and the stories that, we tell ourselves and each other.
And within that, fluidity and that change, there's all this potential for, for growth and transformation.
Even redemption,
Yeah, exactly. It's an empowering message, isn't it?
I think so.
It encourages us to, kind of embrace that journey of self-discovery.
I really explore.
To explore, to dive deep into our own dreams and memories and to find meaning and purpose, in this crazy, ever-changing tapestry of life.
Yeah, I love that.
So keep exploring, keep questioning.
Keep dreaming.
Keep dreaming. Until next time, fellow deep divers.